I know what it's like to experience something that doesn't make any sense, to experience something that you don't know how to explain. It feels like you have this forbidden knowledge that nobody else knows, and you have a responsibility to do something about it. I suffer with a schizophrenic disorder that is on the schizophrenia spectrum, and as somebody who has experienced many different things relating to that mental illness, I have to say that delusions are often hard to deal with, in some regards even harder to deal with than hallucinations. So what are delusions? Well, to understand delusions, you have to understand the biochemistry of your brain when it comes to having a psychotic disorder. A psychotic disorder is normally birthed from an influx of dopamine in your brain, which causes your brain to interpret external stimuli that isn't actually there. And personally, I've experienced this in the form of hallucinations, visual and auditory, sometimes tactile, but regardless, I've also experienced delusions. Now, what are delusions? Delusions are strongly held beliefs that are not based in reality. And that's basically a big factor of psychosis. It's experiencing something that is not based in reality, whether that be a hallucination, whether that be a delusion, and extreme paranoia, stuff like that. So I was on TikTok the other day, and just to kind of tie the two topics together, I saw a video where this woman or person, I don't know, is talking about something that genuinely feels like a delusion. So how about you take a look for the video and tell me what you think.
Me out. These are the funny things a time traveler amuses herself with. Is I just saw a TikTok video where they're putting this on their forehead to help them keep their glasses up. Just so you know, I come from realities where our avatar are differently shaped, and they are many changes, and one of them is the skull has changed. Instead of a rounded rectangle, it is now an upside down teardrop. So the point of the teardrop is here, and as one of my other friends who sees the body changes, he's like, now we have our face sliding off of our skull. So in our day, we could put this up all the way, and I used to tease my dad that he would put both his reading and other glasses up. So yeah, new face. Hear me out.
So that was a very interesting video. Something that I really wanted to point out was the fact that she genuinely believes what she's talking about. And in the comments, people are saying, oh, you should bring it up to your doctor, you should bring it up to your psychiatrist, you should do this and that, this and that, this and that. Sometimes that is what a person needs to hear, but sometimes it's not. You see, when I experienced a delusion when I was in high school, I believed I had no toes. And I went through people's bags, I was running around in the cafeteria, I was desperately searching for my toes. I would rip open people's bags and I would look inside. I stole a dude's protein bar just because I stole this protein bar because I was like, ooh, I'm looking for my toes, found a protein bar, nice. I realized that was a very bad idea. And the entire idea of looking for my toes is pretty stupid because obviously I have toes. But the delusion had convinced me that I had no toes. Another thing that occurred in my life was something called a imposter delusion, where I felt like I wasn't myself anymore, or I felt like the people around me weren't who they said they were. I also experienced a time vortex delusion, where I believe there was a time vortex next to my bookshelf, not my bookshelf, next to the living room bookshelf downstairs in between the couch and the bookshelf. And I was terrified. I was telling my sister, don't go anywhere near that because you're going to get sucked in and you're going to end up somewhere. Regardless to say, I have experience with delusions. And delusions are the kind of things that don't make sense. They genuinely don't make sense. But it's a strongly held belief. It's something that you will stand by regardless of objective truth. And I think that's what's happening with this woman over here. She can say as much as she wants that she's from a different dimension, or that she's, a time traveler or a dimension hopper. You can say all of that. And she'll be completely convinced, and no matter what you do, you cannot fool her that she is not until the psychotic break ends. I understand what that's like. And when people tell you, oh, no, you're just crazy, none of that's real, that isn't exactly helpful. Something that I learned while I was in the mental hospital is the fact that you don't encourage those kind of delusional thoughts. You don't encourage them. But even when you experience a patient who has delusions, you don't try to prove them wrong. You don't support them, but you don't support those ideas. You don't support those delusional thoughts. But you also don't want to you don't want to support the delusional thoughts, but at the same time, you don't want to prove them wrong, because that gets you nowhere. You see, when I was delusional, the one thing that helped me was talking about it. I would talk to my high school counselor about it, and I would talk to my psychiatrist about it. It's a very interesting state of mind, right? Because a psychotic break is something that not a lot of people have experience with. I think 3% of the population in America and 1% in the population of the entire world, which granted, that is a lot of people, but in the grand scheme of things, it's much less than other people. And I find that when somebody is struggling with a psychotic disorder, it's very important for that person to find something that can ground them. You know, when you have those fantastical ideas of just going off and, you know, thinking that you're from another dimension, or thinking that this or that, thinking you don't have toes, or thinking there's a time vortex in between the couch and the bookshelf, you want to be able to find something that grounds you. And a lot of the time people say, oh, you can use 5 4 3 2 1, which is a sensory grounding skill, or you can talk about your feelings, or you can talk about you just talk about it. Talk therapy can sometimes help, but it can also feel very what's the word? It can feel very it starts with a D. Demeaning. It can be very demeaning. And I find that when somebody is demeaning to someone who is experiencing psychosis, it's not fun. And I genuinely think that this woman either is faking it or she's actually delusional. I personally, I think that she's actually delusional, and that breaks my heart, because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to experience something that doesn't make any sense, to experience something that you don't know how to explain. It feels like you have this forbidden knowledge that nobody else knows, and you have a responsibility to do something about it. So yeah, that is what I have to say about that TikTok. So got a bit sad towards the end, but I hope you enjoyed. And if you're ever experiencing a situation where you are with somebody who's delusional, don't try to prove them wrong, and don't support their ideas. A lot of the time, just talking with them, grounding them can help a lot, but it could backfire on you if you try to prove them wrong, and it could backfire on you if you support those ideas. So anyway, if you're in an emergency, I have emergency links down below. If you want to DM me, my Instagram stuff is down below, and I'll catch you in the next one. Ahoy ho, malapo po.